Hi everyone, we are here with author Renier Castellanos, who recently published his first book on forward chess, Playing the Nimzo-Indian. Hi Renier, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking, and very happy to be here with you. And yep, looking forward to this meeting.
Yep,
I'm very excited to be here, and let's go straight
get
to the
into
point.
it.
Yeah,
So before we get into the book, I want to talk about the opening, Nimzo-Indian, and your opinion, why you chose this topic, why this opening is great. Myself, as a playing against d4, I find it a little bit boring with QGD setups lately. So this really intrigued me with this book coming out. Like, how would you convince someone to play this opening?
that's a good question. I remember coming up, and I tell this story. I think in the preface of the book, I was playing all kinds of fun openings. From King's Indian, Benko, Benoni, all these things that you want to try. If you play D4, let's make a fun game. And the result of that is that you win some, you lose some, but like it becomes like you're always gonna get the tough position somehow. It's always gonna be like a challenge, even if you go like, I want to mate my opponent. I'm going to play the king scene, and you have this pressure of that you have to play for an attack. And
Hmm.
so with the name, so I see it as a more of a lifetime thing that I can always play. That once I learn it, it's going to be like like riding a bike. To say like this, I will never forget it. I may not do it anymore, but if I do it again, probably I will be like that. So that's kind of the kind of opening, and this is how I feel it. I don't see the Nimso as an opening that you have to study a lot of lines, you have to memorize things. That's not my view of it, but more something like there are complicated lines, there are sharp lines. You can play it in many styles, but overall you should be doing okay by just following the principles. And this is why I think that for any player of any level, this is where you should start, because not only you will be learning a weapon against d4, but also you will be learning chess in this more pure fashion.
Yeah. So you would
If I
recommend
may,
this for beginners as well? Beginners
yeah,
who
yeah,
are
yeah,
looking.
definitely, definitely. A beginner, first of all, you have like many structures, many pawn structures arising from the Nimzo-Indian. You have closed positions, you have open positions, you have positions with hanging pawns, you have positions with isolated pawn, you have Benoni structures, different things that they will be useful for many other openings. To understand the Nimzo is good for playing any other opening better. Even if if you're used to playing something, let's say some other sharp opening or complicated opening, when once you look into the Nimzo, you understand easier patterns and other type of constructions. It just makes you a better player overall, and you can move from here to another, and it just makes things very easy, I think.
Yeah. And learning the opening, I think for beginners, club players, the most intimidating thing about getting into theory is remembering the moves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can relate to that. The thing about the Nimzo in that sense, sorry, I interrupt you, but I just don't want to forget the idea. Um, in some openings, you forget one move, and then you end up in a terrible position.
yeah.
Like, it can happen to everyone. You forget some move order, you don't know what to
Mhm.
play, and then you just make something, and then yeah, it didn't work out, and you just get a terrible position, and you have to blame the opening. Probably in the Nimzo, even if you don't know any theory at all, and you remember some things, where the pieces go, how should I be developing this? What should I do in this structure? I look at this once and I never look at this again, but I remember some patterns. You will not make a terrible move. I mean, is that there are so many options, so many good options, that it's very hard to make a terrible move, even if you are not, fully prepared. Of course, I don't want to sweet things up like there is no theory to learn. There is theory to learn, but there is a lot of options. It's more about understanding what are you playing against, what are the positions that you are looking for, and It makes it, to me, a principal opening to play for amateurs, club players, and it's also very fun to play. I have to be honest. Like it's like the Spanish of D4. I call it like this. Like on E45, people play the Rui Lopez. It's boring. It's too classical.
Mm,
There is a lot of theory. There is the Berlin. There is the Arcangel. There is so many things to learn. But it's like when you go there, you're in the main rows of chess. It's like this is
mm,
where everything begins. You
yeah.
get all the structures, you get all the types of different styles of play, all these things. And the Nimzo is a bit like that.
Okay. What inspired you to write a book about Nimzo?
The story of this book, and I think that's what makes it a little bit special. Well, I work for Killer Chess Training for a few years now. We offer courses of, from middle game to end games and openings. And at the beginning, we decided like one of the first things of our first courses was going to be like a repertoire against D4 for all our members. That was the idea. And I said, okay, let's do the Nimzo, and let's do a Nimzo that is going to be the way I envision this thing. No, like I wanted to follow players like Mickey Adams and Peter Leko, and great specialists in this opening. And then we created a course, and every week I was teaching this Nimzo with, and I was looking at these lines and positions with the students together. I prepared the material in advance. I show it to them, and then they would be like, "What if this? What if that?" And I would be adding and analyzing new stuff, and not only seeing my perspective, but also many different players from different strengths, because the class is open to all our members, and there are strong players and there are other that are just beginning and using this. Then it came when the course was over. Jacob said, "Okay, now it's time to make the book," and I say, "What?" And then yeah, you can probably make a good book out of this, and say, "Oh, seriously?" And he said, "Yes, and why not?" And then I just look at this and had to go over the material again, had to add explanations, had to remember some of our classes, what were the questions that were most asked, and all these things. And
Yeah.
and I think, I think it was challenging. It's a big book. It covers everything in the Nimzo. But yeah, I'm finally happy that it's done. Cost some time actually. I don't know how much time, but yeah, I've been writing for quite a while.
Uh, so it's pretty special that it's like a coaching project in a way. You listen to students' voices and their concerns and took that and put it in the book. So you are coming not just as an author, but as a coach teaching this opening.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, that the material that is there more or less have been explained in a class before, to
Mm,
a limited number of our members were there, and that was the start of it. Then I took everything and just made it better. This works, this doesn't work. I
yeah.
had explanations for things that were not so obvious. Like sometimes you read the book and just goes and moves go and explain, and you ask yourself what is happening here. But since we had this class and we already had these persons just asking right there, and I had that experience and I could use it to make a better book. I think that was the idea actually, to make this book.
Yeah, and you've mentioned as well that in the book's blurb that there are so many novelties that you can't even count them. How much effort was put into that? Of course, working with engines, there was any AI assistance used in this? How did you approach like using technology to
Mm.
improve the book and the theory?
There was some old lines. Also, I look into what other authors were recommending against the Nimzo. Famous games that put the opening in some trouble, and I was just trying to solve. No, like for example, there were lines where our students would come and say, "What do I play here?" Because I saw this game in which white crushed black with this variation, and I would look at these things and put them under the microscope. We used some obviously the help of the engines. No AI at the moment for sure, but other than that, I think we managed to cover everything and also find new roles, like in positions where more or less it seemed like there was nothing else to play for. Because that's one of the things. It's easier to suggest something like if when you want to just, let's say, equalize or just keep the game, kill the game. I'm sorry, but I want to play something where I get a decent position and I still can play for a win, and I'll play my opponent. That's the idea. I didn't want like recommend variations where you have to settle for this because you're playing with black and you should
Yeah.
somehow there is this belief that if you're playing with black you cannot play for a win. You just and there
Mm-hmm.
are some lines where you get some equality. The position has even chances for both sides, but you get some play and you have a clear strategy, which I think is one of the things that I did in the book, where I add some conclusions to every line on what
Yeah.
is important to remember from the chapter that you just studied,
Yeah.
and what is the important what is important to remember, and what is the strategy to follow in some cases, like what you should be doing late after that.
Yeah. Sort of like memory markers for
Something like that, yeah,
Mhm.
something like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's awesome, especially for people like me who have really bad memories, and that's why I don't like
No,
studying
no.
openings.
One of the things that I was very careful with is I really don't want to. I didn't want to turn the Nimzo-Indian into a Najdorf, charm Najdorf the Sicilian, Just wanted to be like, very. There are some charm lines. I'm not, because I wanted, like, there are some lines where white plays solid, like Capablanca Queen C2 line, which is very popular, classical line that I learned it by the name of Capablanca when I was coming up in Cuba. They teach it like this. But then I learned that in the world, it's more like people refer us to the classical line with Queen C2, which that's very popular, and I wanted something sharp, so I have a sharp recommendation there. In most lines, it's not about memorization. That's why I think
Mm.
it's a useful book for all levels, not only for advanced players because the lines are there.
Yeah.
I mean, the work is done, but if a player that some less advanced player wants to just follow the main lines, that should be enough to
Mm.
get started.
Okay. So, and as a coach and author, of course, but mainly as a coach, let's say I just got this book on forward chess. I want to learn this opening. What is your suggestion for to learn openings? All the material is there, your explanations are there. Going through the book is one thing, but what's the best way to really make an opening stick?
The thing is, I'm old school in this sense. I really use I just want to say that I use a chessboard. This is something that probably a few years ago you wouldn't have to say, but nowadays, like everyone with the computers and everything, everybody studies in different ways. But okay, what I want to say is that studying the opening for me is like, once you go over the lines of the book, and you read basically the explanations, that's what will stick. That's You
Mm.
probably will not remember a move, but if there is a story related to the move, or there is an explanation related to the move, that you will always remember. Like in this position against let's just mention one example, the Rubinstein variation. I put the bishop on d6 or whatever. This will stick because there is a reason for this, and if that explanation is given, you will not forget. So what I think people should do is basically, after learning the lines, they should probably go over some games by players who play these variations often.
Yeah.
So that is what I was doing, and then I said, I all this repertoire of opening of the Nimzo got is based mostly, I think. Well, I took from everyone, but one inspiration for this opening was Mikey Adams.
Hmm. Mickey Adams. We also have an interview with him
Yeah.
on Forward Chess. But okay, so Mickey Adams is your go-to to follow games on Nimzo Indian.
Yeah, Mickey Adams, Anand, Peter Leko, all these players who are of one style that is very easy to identify as a players of all levels. I
Yeah.
think it's makes it very very interesting. How they win games in this position
Hmm.
with the black pieces is quite interesting.
Yeah. And speaking of forward chess and your book, of course, technology is developing these days. People don't really have hardcover books anymore. How beneficial do you think it is to have this kind of chess content online, digitally? Like you can take with you everywhere you go to tournaments.
Yeah, no, no. In this has been like like a change completely. I remember going to tournaments carrying a bag of books, and now I only carry forward chess on my phone, on my computer. It's just it's just so simple to use and to have access to tons of books. I have like
Yeah.
tons of books on forward chess, um, and it just makes it so simpler. Like have all your. I don't have to carry the books anymore, and one click away is just I
Like a
review
bag.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It has changed everything because you know if I was like playing for maybe a young player, they were born with this. But but for me, I do remember the times where I was carrying a lot of books on my backpack and chessboard and everything. So this has changed the lifestyles of a tournament player.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite chess books?
I do. But actually, I will just mention the modern ones. I do have some old ones that, like for example, I always say I always mention Mihai Shuba's Dynamic Strategy, which was such a fun book to read at the point. But I don't know. It also has to do with that. I'm a very big fan of the author, and he is my friend. So.
Mm.
So I'm biased to that, but also what I'm going to say is also my friend, which is Jacob's Thinking Inside the Box. I think this is a fantastic book. I was mentioning the other day in one class too, because I got asked the same question, and also I really like Under the Surface. I don't remember the author though, because there are
Jan
always like
Jan Marcos?
Jan Marcos, but I
Yeah.
don't know if there is an if there if because he likes to write with another author,
Mm.
and he has like a couple of books, and it's always. But I think this one is all by himself.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I really like that book a lot because he explained, you know, methods of training, which is always not so well
Mm.
known by people are very quiet about this. What is that the grandmasters do and strong players over 2600, what do they do with how they study the openings, what are
Yeah.
their things to do, and that book was sort of enlightening in that sense, and I really like it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a cool list. That's a great list. We have the two Agard and Jan's books on forward chess, so I'll link them down below. And for you as an author and a player, what's next?
Well, I will have the second part of this book coming out soon. That will be like in October.
Okay.
Because Nimzo, I also got this comment recently in social media. There was the problem with the Nimzo is that sometimes people don't allow you to do it,
Mm.
which is true. But fortunately, there is another book coming, which is dealing with all the Catalan and three knight f3, also with the anti systems like Cole system and London system and Torres system, everything that
You're
is not
covering all of this in the second part.
all of this
Um,
is covered in the second book.
okay.
And everything is from a perspective of a Nimzo-Indian player. So you can
Hmm.
expect knight f6 on move one and e6 on move two, regardless of what white plays.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what I wanted. The idea is that, once you learn this, it's like an opening and a repertoire that you can always play. Like that was the goal. I mean, probably there will be some refutations coming in my the way, so that's inevitable. But as you know, as the theory advances, but the foundation should last
Mm,
for a long time, and that is what makes the opening so appealing to me. That if you don't know what to do, just play chess, and against d4 there is
comforting.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, it's like, I always tell this story, but grandmaster friend of mine, I was preparing for this game, and I used to play the Benoni, and this guy was playing some sharp line, maybe 4 pawns or something like this, where he just wanted to crush me or something. And I asked my friend, what do I do against this guy? And he says, okay. I asked like 10 minutes before the game, and he said, play bishop before, play the Nimzo. And I said, but I don't know anything about the
Yeah, and
Nimzo.
you're about to go play.
And then he says, but what is there to know? After bishop before is equal already, and you just play chess. And I was like, oh my God, no, I won't do it. And in the end, I played the Benoni, and after 15 or 17 moves, I was already regretting why did I didn't play this
Uh,
opening. And I lost without much of a fight. But yeah, since then I started learning it. And I said, okay, this is something like, good to have always.
hmm,
Uh, is of course not the sharpest opening when you need by all means to complicate the game.
yeah,
It's not the sharpest, but it's something that you can always play against any opposition.
yeah. So if I get your book, this one, Nimzo-Indian, and your second book, this is basically full repertoire against D4.
Correct. Not only against the main lines, but also against all the moves after d4.
Yeah. Okay. And
When
you'll
I say all the moves, like
all
e4,
the
g4, knight c3.
D4, G4,
Yeah.
H3.
No, okay, I didn't go this far, but
Hmm.
I did analyze Ding Linen's H3 that he played in the World Championship against Nepomniachtchi. I analyzed that, yeah.
Okay.
So that
Well,
is covered.
yeah, a lot of work as an author, but you had the coaching materials, so I can see a lot of heart was put into this book.
Yeah, definitely. Has been quite a lot of work. Also discussing lines all the time, like, because when you are teaching things, is sort of different, because now
Hmm.
you are listening, but then when you're writing, you kind of have to make the choice. What is, what
Yeah.
I think is going to be more likable, and what I think is going to be good, and people
Hmm.
will like trust these things and enjoy it while reading it. So yeah, that's I I I I did my best work. I hope I will do something even better soon. But yeah, I think it was. I put a lot of heart into it. Let's just leave it like
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's great. And I'm really keen. I'm gonna take a look at it. I just got the book today, actually. So I'm excited to maybe change my whole repertoire and then wait for the second one to come out.
Well, you won't have to wait long. It's already in the works.
Which is very impressive, by the way. I mean, authors sometimes take like 5 years in between their books, right? Releasing and then working. But this publishing another one so soon is quite impressive.
Yeah, yeah. It has to. Yeah, you cannot. You have to have everything, because
Mm,
d4 is knight f6, e6 later. Why can play so many things that you
yeah.
have to be prepared. Now I have to say that yeah, but we're probably gonna have another interview when that book comes out.
Yes, of course. We'll go through
So
that whole book when it comes.
I'm not gonna say anything about that one.
Okay, we'll keep this in suspense and we'll talk about the contents there and your approach to the book. But thank you very much. This is really great interview. It was so nice to meet you and hear all about your passion as well, not just as, a player, as a coach. And I know that that will probably be shining through your explanations in the book, which of course is important for an opening book, right?
Absolutely, I think is now what is most valuable to have the input of a person more or less telling you what to do, or basically I don't like to say what to do, but my view of things, what I have investigated, what have worked, and what has worked in the past for others. And
Hmm.
when I one of the things when I was writing the book, which this I can tell, because then I had to like review all the old material, see what and update it, because there were many games played after,
Yeah.
and I found that l- quite a few students of our academy were using this repertoire in tournaments. So I found some of my
Ah,
students, let's say,
put
in
it
the
into
games,
practice.
and yeah, that was quite like, you know I I don't take any credit for my student success, but I was like, yeah, I know where you got that from. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like when I was
Yeah.
watching the games, it was like, oh, look at this.
They were like your beta testers for the opening. It
Yeah,
works.
yeah, I guess so, but they did quite well actually. There are a few games that I just even had to put them in.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
nice,
yeah.
encouraging. Not
I'm
just
not gonna say
your
which because not to reveal any
friends.
names, but yeah,
But they're there.
they're there. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, and we will see you when the next book comes out.
That will be very soon. So I look forward to have, and we can talk about both books again and how they complement with each other.
Yeah,
What's the strategy there? And I look forward to be with you again and talk about these books.
great. Thanks, Janier.
Thank you so much.